Wednesday edition, September 9th. It is Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, high noon on the West Coast. As we are each and every day, Monday through Friday, we are live right now on WagerTalk TV, Facebook Live, Periscope, and then, of course, you can always catch the replay each and every day on YouTube afterwards. We've got 2 NBA games tonight, and thanks to the Milwaukee Bucks, we have just one NBA game tomorrow, as we thought we might. But as always, I'm joined by Teddy Covers from WagerTalk.com, Rob Vino as well from WagerTalk, and I'm your host, Steve Merrill. Also, hey, guess what? At WagerTalk.com. Teddy also, though, can be found at SportsMemo.com. Don't forget about the sister site. Job Cash, always the first in the chat. Always glad to see you, my man. He gives us a what's up each and every day, and with the Simpson logo, I have to put it on the screen. Teddy, what were your thoughts? I guess let's start with the Bucks. I turned that game on yesterday. I see Giannis in street clothes, and I see the Bucks up almost double digits early on. I was like, wow. Are we going to have the discussion again? Are they better without the Greek? But obviously things changed in the second half, and the Heat pulled it off, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good result for me and the clients. I was on Miami last night and got down early. We're down, I think, at -2 or 2.5 overnight. So I was not surprised to see Giannis sit, nor was I. So this is one of the things that always stands out when you watch a game and then you look at the box score after. All right. And you're like, this guy was the most important player in the game, and the box score doesn't show up at all. Wesley Matthews, I would say, single-handedly kept the Bucks in that game for extended stretches. The intensity on defense, the intensity on offense, the willingness to shoot, the willingness to pass. You look at the box score, he did nothing. You're like, oh, Wesley Matthews, well, it was a huge. His intensity carried over, and certainly Brook Lopez was right there with him. And that kept the Bucks in the game. Miami didn't even play well last night. They really didn't. They missed a lot of shots early and often. They played well enough. And, of course, the end result, Milwaukee without Giannis, they did not look like a championship contender. They had their game, and that was my thought process in playing Miami in that contest was Milwaukee had the game where all their guys were shooting and Middleton went nuts, and now they got to exhale, and now it's 2 days later, and they all played major minutes. The Heat relatively unscathed in the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's give them a little bit of credit for that.
Yeah, and Rob, I referenced how teams get that one-game bump off, obviously without a superstar often, and if you think about it, it really applied to the Bucks the second half of Game 4, and it kind of applied to them the first half of Game 5. So maybe that was the full four-quarter bump. And as Teddy said, the Heat, took control of the second half there and won the series. Rob, maybe your final thoughts on that Milwaukee-Miami series, and more importantly, I guess, looking forward, it's most likely going to be the Celtics at their opponent. What is your big picture take on the Heat here moving forward?
Well, I think, all along, I thought Miami could take Milwaukee out of this thing, and I still think that if they play Boston, it's a tug of war. It's not cut and dry that, Boston wins that thing. I think that'll be an incredible series. Miami last night, guys, the balance was incredible. You got 6 guys in double digits. And I think, Steve, to your point, when Giannis went out in the previous game and Middleton took over, and then when they came out with a ton of energy to start the game last night, that energy, I think, went away. They just got tired. There was a lot of burden placed upon guys' shoulders, and they just couldn't sustain it, while Miami, the depth in what they have offensively and defensively, and you saw them turn up the defensive screws multiple times in that game to get themselves a lead, to extend the lead. When they needed to, they get a lead back. So this is a team that's well equipped for the Eastern Conference Finals, whether it be offensively, 3-point shooting, or on the interior, whether it be fast break or half court. Defensively, they can guard the perimeter, they can guard inside. They've got everything to represent the East in the finals. I mean, it's going to be a pretty good series if they match up with Boston.
Yeah, Tony Finn, also at WagerTalk.com, as his Twitter handle, Finn at WagerTalk, would tell you. Tony, the Heat got control of the second half, won the series as we thought they probably would at some point, and it finished in 5. Nice little payoff. I didn't pull it up, by the way, guys. I'm sure Heat in 5 had a nice little payoff when the series began at plus double digits probably. Tony, what's your big picture on the Heat here moving forward? You're muted, Tony. There we go.
There's some people here in this. There's some people here that would like me muted.
I was going to say, so many different suspects of who might have muted you. This time it was not me, though. In fact, I'll give you a full screen to make up for it.
That's a scary thought. Listen, I think we all, to a man, like the Heat in this. We didn't like the way Milwaukee was playing, and we thought this series played out fairly close to what all of us spoke to a couple weeks or a week and a half ago, and we're going to speak towards this next series too. I think the Heat are live dogs. They're live dogs, and I'll be interested in seeing what the prices are on this and what the opening number is for Game 1. Whoever they decide to play, whoever our boy Jimmy Butler decides he's going to choose to play, I guess.
And I guess, if, and we'll segue into the game. Actually, I'll get your thoughts. I was going to say we'll segue to the Celtic game after it, though. But I would assume this game will probably be, what do you guys think, on Friday? I mean, Game 1, if the Celtics close it out tonight, Teddy?
I'm not sure if they give them an extra day or not.
Right.
I haven't looked, and that the scheduling stuff I really don't know. And frankly, I don't worry. They tell me when the games are, and I'll handicap them.
I agree.
But I'm not going to worry about the NBA scheduling. I just want to make one last thought about the Milwaukee Bucks. They went 53-10 going into the bubble. Once they got to the bubble, they were 8-10. And they were still priced like the 53-10 team.
Yeah.
So
that's a great
when
stat.
you find those opportunities where a team is priced here, but they're playing at a level that's more like here, there's money to be made. And I'm glad that you guys were able to make some with me on Miami.
Yeah, that's an amazing stat. Same amount of losses in 18 games that they had in 63 games beforehand. Incredible. Yeah, I mean, and it sums up the Milwaukee Bucks bubble experience. And let's not forget, once again, they were the ones that started the 3-day layoff. I keep going back to that, and I don't think it's a total coincidence that they did not play well in that round against Miami. The big question is, was it really Miami or was it really Milwaukee? Because that's kind of what I was getting at here, looking forward, to the next series. We'll find out. And let's look at this first. Yeah, go ahead.
Just my last point. I don't mean to cut everyone off, but
that's fine.
So for all the success Miami has had, and I give Miami a ton of credit, Indiana was not very good. Milwaukee was not very good.
Yep.
And Miami right now is being power rated through the roof because they've just dominated these two teams that were supposed to be better than they actually were. I think there may well be residual value betting against the Heat at the beginning of their next series, whether it's Boston or Toronto.
Yeah, exactly, Ted. And that was the point I was getting at is, what do we take of this Milwaukee team, the Miami team? Because and also not only did they beat a distracted, underachieving Milwaukee team, but as we've said, the reigning MVP was not in the last game and a half. So, it wasn't even we're close to a Class A team anymore. By the way, Anthony got him at plus 2,500 to win the championship. I would definitely like the odds now at plus 2,500. In fact, I'll go around real quick. Tony, you're the hedgehog. Would you recommend hedging out a little bit on that?
On who? I'm sorry. On what?
He's got the Eastern Conference at 8-1, 25-1 right now to win the championship.
I will just say this: depends on the investment. Depends on what a dollar. Listen, $100 to me is just like $1 to Teddy. So it's all in relation to what how much that what a game means to you. Let's just be honest. I rarely will hedge $100 play or a fun play. But if it's a serious play, you got, if it's worth a mortgage, this month's or next month's mortgage, yeah, hedge it, take your money and go.
Well, and Teddy, I think you and I think like the same on these. Is for me, it's about, do you still like the player now? You've got a tremendous line edge now at 25-1, but you still have to think the Heat can win the championship. Otherwise you hedge more of it. If not, you keep more of it because you've obviously got a mathematical edge long term. So Teddy, my takeaway once again, are you a short-term player, are you a recreational player, or is this a long-term investment for you? Either way, I think you probably hedge a little bit of that out though, Teddy.
Well, there's no hedge to make today. There's no hedge to make,
well, if you play on the Celtics maybe in the next series, right? I mean, that's
what we can do is talk about possible ways if you want to hedge. And again, you're talking about hedging off an 8-1 and a 25-1. So you have a pair of tickets, but there are two series you'll have to hedge in order to cash something locked into those series. And I don't know what the series price is going to look like, Boston/Toronto versus Miami. Your choices would include taking the Celtics or the Raptors to win the series as an initial hedge, or to wait until Miami faces elimination and then hedge. And personally, that's the way I would prefer to do it, is to wait till if Miami's going to get swept, it's going to hurt you. If they go down, fall 3-0. But if you decide to wait until the Heat are actually up against the wall and say, all right, now is when I'm going to put a little something on their opponent. As long as you only have to do that once or twice, you can still lock in a small profit. But 8-1, we're not talking about a huge score here. You're not going to get, you're not. It's not a get rich quick. I might hold. I'd be more inclined to hold than hedge, even though the series price is not likely to be much higher than 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, my final take on this would be I think just from an emotional standpoint, maybe get your initial investment back, hedge enough to at least break even, worst case scenario. And that's more of an emotional hedge than anything. It statistically might not make sense. In fact, it doesn't. I mean, long term, you should keep it all at 8-1 because that's a tremendous value play because the true odds are going to be less than 2-1, as you just said, Teddy. I mean, the Celtics will probably be a small favorite. The Raptors will be a small favorite. Maybe 2-1, a little bit more than small. But
I'm going to say, Steve, as much as we had to respect you, I respect you and Teddy and Rob. As soon as I start saying, just because I like a game, here's how we're in this. We do this for a living, and we know what the margin is. The margin's small. The small. If we're right 58% of the time, we're living at the top of the Bellagio, and that's just the bottom line. If you're doing it right, and your money management is correct, and you're playing enough per game, we're living at the top of the Bellagio at 58%. So when I say, well, I like this game, 58% that you've raised, you got 8% of a coin flip. I think you hedge that. That's just me.
And we got another one. Connor's got him at 24-1. He risked 1 unit there to win the championship. But the way you got to look at this, Connor, is that you've got 24 units to win. So you've got a lot of hedge potential there, in my opinion, with just 2 series to go. Yeah. Rob, I'll get your thoughts on the series in general. I want to bring Ski in as well. Ski Profit, WagerTalk.com. Ski, before we get to the game 1 here, or game 6 rather, of the other Eastern Conference, I just want to get your closing thoughts on the RIP Milwaukee Bucks. Rest in peace. What do you think? What were your closing thoughts on Miami and Milwaukee last night, Ski?
Hopefully they figure out how to be better in the postseason next year. That's all.
So Ski, Teddy had an incredible stat. Milwaukee was 53-10 before the bubble. They're 8-10 since. Same amount of losses in like 1/5 the span.
Say that again.
So Teddy, it was 53-10, correct?
Yeah, 53-10 going into the bubble, and then 8-10 in the bubble. So,
wow.
And then they won their first game in the bubble, so it's like
7-10. Yeah, 54-10 and 7-10. Yeah, it's an incredible collapse. Of course, the Greek was out for a game and a half, but still, Ski, just big picture, and we'll move on to the Celtic game. But they're most likely playing the Celtics this weekend. Teddy made a great point that the odds are going to be dropping on Miami. They're 7-1 now in the playoffs. They took advantage of what I thought was an overrated Indiana team, obviously an overrated Milwaukee team. Ski, what's your big picture thought on the Heat? Was it more the Heat or was it more the Bucks that made that series go so fast?
More of the Bucks, but yeah, I'll give the Heat credit as well. I don't think that the Heat were just that great of a team or I'll take it back. I don't think that Milwaukee was that great of a team to knock off. So I give the Heat credit for winning, but I don't think it's anything spectacular.
So Rob, let me throw game 6 here to you with the Raptors and Celtics. Do you think knocking off this Toronto team, the way Boston is, for the most part, pretty much thoroughly outplayed them, they never trailed in game 5, do you find that more impressive than knocking off Milwaukee right now, Rob?
No. I mean, let's put it this way. From a mental standpoint, yes, because I think Toronto's mentally tougher than Milwaukee is. When times get tough, Toronto will, dig down deep. I think when times have gotten tough for Milwaukee the last couple of seasons in the playoffs, they haven't been able to dig down deep. But personnel-wise, I don't know that it's any better, guys. I think that, Toronto came into this bubble playing extremely hard. We all noted that. The one team that got them in the bubble in a meaningful game was Boston. Toronto went right through the Brooklyn Nets. Who cares? Then they come up against Boston again, and the matchup is just horrible for them. I would say this. TC talked about there's nothing impressive about who Miami's beaten. There was nothing impressive about beating Philadelphia whatsoever, because they were non-existent. And I just think this matchup for Toronto, listen, the thing that Toronto should have been able to take advantage of here is the bench, the short bench of Boston without Gordon Hayward even in the lineup. And they couldn't do that. And I would ask you guys, to a man, if you had to choose a bench, would you want Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, Andre Iguodala, and Kelly Olynyk, or would you want Norman Powell, Chris Boucher, Davis, Hollis Jefferson, Serge Ibaka? I give you two. I'll give you Powell and Ibaka, but I think the bench on Miami's quite a bit better. And I think this matchup, fundamentally speaking, Steve, Miami against Boston is a much better matchup than Toronto's proven to be against the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, and Teddy, what about Ibaka? What are you seeing on him? I did a late night last night with Gabe Morency, our man Gabe, and all those Toronto natives are freaking out right now with Toronto do or die situation, Game 6, and Ibaka was looking like he might not play as of last night.
Yeah, all I have is questionable. That's been the number. That's been the situation all day. I haven't heard any report on Ibaka. Yes, he's going to be one of those game time decisions. So I wouldn't expect to hear anything until the last hour before tip-off on whether Ibaka is going to play. There hasn't been any news on that yet, to the best of my knowledge yet today. But Ibaka's not, I mean, in terms of how much he's worth to the point spread, what's Ibaka worth? A half point at the most to the spread. I can't imagine he's worth more than that. But the markets might overreact because that's what markets do. We could see the market decide Ibaka's worth 3 points today. I'm not convinced that's the case. In a normal regular season game, he wouldn't move the needle at all.
Yeah, Tony, do you feel like he should be worth more than a half a point, though? I don't think the market will say he is either.
I would say he's worth more. He's worth more to me in my play.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Not playing, and it's not the side. It's the total. So what he does defensively, listen, I don't think he gets enough credit defensively. He's quicker. Let's compare the two centers, or they have three that they play in that position, but for the most part, it gets the most minutes, and that's Gasol and Ibaka. And Ibaka does so much more when opposing guards drive the lane than Gasol can do. In fact, Gasol, he just hangs out by the 3-point line, shoots some threes. So I preferably like the over in this game. I like the over 209. I don't care listen, 209. I'm over this total, and if Ibaka doesn't play, I like it even more.
Yeah, Ski, I think Tony brings up a great point. Everyone thinks, as Teddy says, they overreact to injuries, and I think they overreact to the offensive side of injuries as well. But a lot of times it's addition by subtraction with points with a guy like Ibaka, who's probably more defense than he is offense.
I think he's both. I trust him more at the 3-point line than some of these other guys. And, I mean, I understand what Tony's saying about the defensive. But just going back to what Rob said, I mean, he talked about Toronto's bench. He named two players, Norman Powell and Ibaka. If Ibaka's not there, I mean, I like Toronto a lot less than I would like him to begin with. So I would lean towards Boston in this game, especially if Ibaka's hurt anyway. That's the way I have to look. And one thing I didn't really necessarily look at earlier, I should have, it's simple. Boston versus competition, 55% win teams are better. They're 26-14 against the spread.
Yeah, and for me, guys, I mean, the big takeaways, I think I said this before Game 3. The Celtics were up 2-0, and I said it's really not a question if Toronto bounces back. It's just that Boston lets down because they'd outplayed them. And that's kind of how I look here, Teddy. Boston never trailed in Game 5. I know you liked them in that situation off the back-to-back losses. They've been the better team. All things equal, they should close it out tonight. Now, obviously, the odds makers are pricing that in. It's 3.5. It's the highest line that's been in the series. But, Teddy, do you think the Celtics had that mindset to close it out here? I mean, do you think it's more the Raptors need the Celtics not to be focused in order to pull the upset?
No, Toronto's A game. If Toronto hits some shots, they can win any of these games. And if Siakam has a big game, it's not like there's a huge differential between the Celtics and the Raptors. There has, however, been some legitimate differential. We've seen 3 tight games and 2 blowouts, both blowouts going to the Celtics. Toronto's won 2 of the 3 tight games. But, we think, Brown and Tatum, they're not that experienced. Yeah, they are. This team's been to the Eastern Conference Finals twice in the last 3 years. They're a veteran team, and veteran teams we trust to close out series when given the opportunity. That being said, the old don't underestimate the heart of a champion, I think that's real. There are teams that when they get punched in the face, they're not going to punch back. My old adage for NBA playoff series is when a team's done, they're done. And Toronto, a blowout loss in Game 5, the second blowout of the series, a 3-2 series deficit. Sometimes you wonder, hey, is this team done? I don't think the Raptors, I think win or lose tonight, the Raptors are going to fight. This isn't a situation where, you can stick a fork in them. They're not going to play.
Yeah, Rob, and Teddy brought up a great point, something I wanted to mention. If you look at the shooting percentages in this series, it's really been just night and day. Toronto has shot 40% or worse in 4 of the 5 playoff games. That's the large reason all 5 have gone under the total so far. Boston, meanwhile, the Celtics have shot pretty well. They've shot 47% or better in 3 of the 5, 44% or better in 4 of the 5. And once again, Raptors 40 or worse in 4 of the 5. How much of that, Rob, is matchup, and how much of that is just maybe somewhat due to return to the norm? And if it does return tonight, I guess Toronto does have a chance.
Yeah, let me say 2 things quick here first. Teddy, do me a favor while I talk here, and just using your power ratings, let me know if the game was played today, because I show basically pick 'em what Miami-Boston would be if it was played today. And Ski, one favor out of you. You just rattled off a number, a really good against the spread number about the Celtics against 550 competition or better. Just because I don't know it off the top of my head, pull up Miami, because I feel like Miami's played real good against top-notch competition this year as well. I just want to see how comparable they are. For the game, Steve, you know when you play gin rummy and you want to get a run, you got to get the 5 of clubs, 6 of clubs, 7 of clubs, 8 of clubs to get your 4. Toronto filled in their 4 the other night by going 12 of 40 from the 3-point line. They're now 10 of 40 in one game, 11 of 40, 12 of 40, 13 of 40. They can lay it down. It hasn't been good for them shooting the basketball. And to your point, I think it is. I think Boston's defense is a bit in their head. I think Boston's quickness has made Toronto rush shots. Toronto, as we've mentioned time and time again, and every broadcast mentions it, loves to get out in transition, but Boston's transition defense has been really good. The fast break points just haven't come as easily as they came for Toronto during the season. Again, I just think it's the matchup. You know what I mean? I think Boston is a team with Brown, Tatum, and Walker. And let me say this. I don't think people realize that Brown, Tatum, and Walker, before they got together on the floor with Boston, they actually played together on a team. I'm missing the team. I think it was an overseas team representing the U.S. I can't remember which games it was, but they played together before prior to this season. So they had knowledge of each other, and it's part of the reason why Kemba Walker went to Boston. He's been fantastic as the lead guard. The other 2 guys have been great. I just think Boston's a bad matchup. In this game in particular, I'm going to totally agree with Teddy that there's a ton of fight in Toronto. I mean, I might have shortchanged their bench just now, but I think it was rightfully shortchanged because they just haven't shown anything. Regardless of whether or not Ibaka plays, they will show heart. They will play for 48 minutes. And to Teddy's point, if they knock down shots, plus I see a +4 out there now. +4 could be too much in this game. Certainly it's way more than what I had the game power rated with Ibaka. And even without Ibaka, this line is far superior to what I had it power rated.
Yeah, and Teddy, before I forget, what would be your early line on the Moneyline Celtics? Celtics 2.5.
Yeah, that's my number right now.
Okay, so that I think about 2-1 series favorite probably is about accurate, maybe less. Yes, Ski.
And the difference between the Heat and the Celtics, I have the Celtics 26-14, and I have the Heat 25-18.
It's pretty similar.
Fairly close. And guys, throughout the playoffs so far, just a couple more fast numbers. Miami against the spread, full game, first half, second half, 21-6. Boston throughout the playoffs, full game, first half, second half, 19-8. So just 2 games difference there. Both tremendous bankroll builders throughout the playoffs.
And Tony, the full game once again is 3.5, 209. I know you like the over. You mentioned the first half is 1.5, 105.5. So that's making the second half 103.5. Any preference on the first half over versus the full game over?
Both. I like them both over. I listen, and correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me I'm crazy, but one of the things we're supposed to do is we're supposed to at least have some knowledge and some understanding of what a coach does, what the players do, how teams make adjustments, and what's the old adage? The 12th. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I fully expect. I have a lot of respect for Nurse, and I fully expect Toronto to be different tonight. They have. This is a team that comes in here with nothing to lose tonight, and they have not performed well in They have not gotten out in transition. And if they're going to win this game tonight, they're either going to shoot above the season percentage, which. Heck, they got to shoot a hell of a lot better tonight to get above that 40% that they've been shooting. And if Boston just shoots their season average, as Teddy said, Rob said, as all these guys said, it's a game. And if Toronto wins tonight, guys, if Toronto was to win tonight and do it without Ibaka, we're gonna sit here tomorrow and we're gonna talk much different about this game 7. And because right now we're all kind of in that mindset. Well, we're leaning right now on Brad Stevens right now, saying, "Hey, listen, wake me up when it's over." It may be different tomorrow if Toronto wins. Just my opinion.
Yeah, it reminds me so much of the Utah series too, where the lower seed is now a 3.5-point favorite in Game 6, whereas they started as a dog of 2.5 points at one point a few games ago. And of course, Denver did come back from a 3-1 deficit. Toronto feels like it was a 3-1, but it was only a 2-2 tie series, and I'm personally rooting for the Celtics to lose tonight so I could set up a Game 7 play. But like you said, Tony, we're going to probably look at it a lot differently tomorrow if Toronto comes out and changes the way they play. Rob, one thing about the three-point shooting, though, I think it's a really bad sign when you shot 40% or less in 4 of the 5 games, you've actually hit some threes. I mean, that means you're getting nothing down low. And I've always thought three-point shooting is more random. That's the random variance in basketball nowadays, kind of like fumbles in football. But I've always thought scoring down low is more of a consistent and constant. And I think that's a good sign for Boston as well. Another reason I'm kind of rooting for them to just let down tonight and maybe lose. So Game 7 sets up well for them. Ski, you've been doing really well at the props. Let me ask you first, any play-on, play-against guys in this? I don't know if Ibaka matters a lot of how you're looking at the Raptor props. Obviously, if he doesn't play, there'd be more minutes for some other guys.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I love Ibaka. I don't remember last time Marcus Gasol made a three-pointer. I heard somebody say he hangs out by the three-point line, but I don't remember the last time he made one. Looking at the props for the Raptors, I don't really like too many of them. I don't think the Raptors show up in this game, or I don't think they win if Ibaka doesn't play. And if he does play, if I have to pick one, it would be Siakam to probably struggle under 20.5. He struggled throughout the playoffs anyway, and that's because he doesn't really have a lot of moves besides, he's just like a Giannis type of player. So I would pick Siakam under 20.5.
Teddy, you agree with that one? Any other play-on, play-against guys for you?
The props, you guys do much better with the props than I do. I'm a side. I primarily focus on size and totals. I do want to bring a couple things from the chat that I thought were really interesting. Teddy B saying, but Teddy, 4 of the top 5 players in the court tonight belong to the Celtics. Celtics have better talent. I do believe that. I was making cases for Toronto, but my cases for Toronto, I don't think were as strong as my cases for Boston. I have yet to bet the Raptors in this series. I bet the Celtics 3 times already. So for what that's worth. There was somebody, Anthony Starr looked it up for you, Rob. The 2019 Team USA.
Yeah.
Where all those guys played together for the FIBA World Cup. Thanks for looking that up, Anthony. From a prop standpoint, we say that Toronto is struggling from 3-point range, and some of that's randomness, obviously, but some of it is what Boston's doing on the perimeter. We say Toronto struggling in transition. That's not random. I can think back. I remember it was the 3rd game inside the bubble, and I was reading you guys a quote about how Brad Stevens was furious about the Celtics not getting back on defense, and we got to work on this, and this is our priority. And that was a month ago. And from that time, Boston's transition defense has gradually but significantly improved. Right now, the Celtics are playing D at a different level than I don't know anyone in the bubble is playing this D better than playing better defense than Boston right now. Maybe you guys can think of someone, but I can't.
Yeah, Rob, statistically, Boston's held them to 40% or less in 4 of the 5 games. It's been very inconsistent from 3-point range, like we've talked about. How much of that is the Boston defense, Rob, versus how much of it is just Toronto being more of a defensive team, not a great shooting team at times?
Again, I think it's a combo. I just think that Boston has been on them so tight defensively that you rush shots. And listen, there's no randomness to the 3-point shooting for the Toronto Raptors. They're one of the 5 best percentage shooting teams from 3 in the NBA this season. It's a huge part of their game. So, they need points inside, but they need to shoot from the perimeter to be the Toronto Raptors, and they just haven't been able to do it. I don't think it's just random. We're not making shots because they're too good at it to just randomly not make shots. Boston's got a heck of a lot to do with it in this particular instance. As far as player props go, Guys, I really, we've been through this series a couple of times already, and on a game-to-game basis, we can come up with different names. So I really don't have anything good to recommend here. But I see Ski's hand is up, so let him go ahead and give us one.
Well, for one, I wanted to ask a question. Who are the guys who are going to make shots for Toronto, or the guys who are supposed to make shots for Toronto? And number two, as we speak, I'm trying to look up Marc Gasol points or 3-point under.
7.5 points, Ski, because I was going to already see if Tony wanted the over there.
Because the last time he's made a 3-pointer was August 23rd.
Yeah, I couldn't find the 3-point odds on him. I actually was looking that up for you because I couldn't find 3-point odds because I was liking the under 1.5 as well. And it might have been August 23rd of 2019, by the way, viewers. But yeah, Tony, can I interest you? I think Ski will probably take us all under 7.5 points.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
All right,
because listen, what Gasol has done and what he's going to be asked to do tonight without Ibaka is two different things. And I'll take the over without question.
Hey,
Ibaka's not for sure out.
He's out. No, he's right. That is right. He's right. But if Ibaka is not, if he's listening to him, they're in worse shape. Toronto's in worse shape with a 75% Ibaka than they are a nothing to Ibaka. That's my opinion. If you're trying to put a gimp up against Boston, then tell the gimp to sit the hell down, and we'll get you healthy because we got a game 7 to play after tonight's win. That's what I'd say as a coach.
It's pronounced goat, not gimp. Goat.
Gimp, goat. Okay.
Ibaka, the goat, the greatest of all time, right?
I think that's racist. I think that's stereotyping. I think we're gonna get emails now on that shit.
I'll tell you what, it's a good segue to the next game before we get in trouble then, because we got about 15 minutes left. Actually, let me get a little housekeeping in order here. WagerTalk.com for all of us. Steve Merrill, Teddy Covers, Rob Vino, Tony Finn, Ski Profit. WagerTalk.com, free plays and best bets there. And I keep hoping the free plays, guys. I know a lot of viewers in the chat are new sports bettors. They're small players. They're trying to build their bankroll. Take advantage of the free plays. I've been posting one each and every day all year long at Wager Talk. And it's a great way to build your bankroll along with $2 Tuesday, $9 Monday. But then when you're ready to step up and get the best information from each of us each day, our official best bets, WagerTalk.com. Teddy's also on SportsMemo.com as well. Teddy, let's look at the nightcap here, and this will be maybe the last time that we have 2 games on one day, so we'll take advantage of the bonus basketball here. In fact, statistically speaking, we should only have 1 game going forward because the Celtics series should technically end tonight. And by the way, the adjusted series price, before we leave that one, I popped it on earlier. Celtics are now minus 470, take back plus 375 on the Raptors, so about a 4.5 to 1 chance that the Celtics win at least one of these last 2 games, and about a 2 to 1 chance tonight. Teddy, let's look at the late game, though, between the Clippers and Nuggets. Obviously Denver is in a really bad spot in game 1. They got blown out. I think a lot of that had to do with the one-day turnaround. As we've mentioned here, the Nugget players were a little bit surprised after game 7 that they had to play 2 days later. You can make a case that the Nuggets have actually outplayed the Clippers the last 2 games combined, though, for the overall 8 quarters. Yet you could also say the Clippers are up 2-1 without playing great in those games. So how do you look at it, Teddy? What are your thoughts here in game 4?
Last thing about Celtics Raptors, I promise. But I meant to bring it up 3 different times, and I forgot to say it.
I was just trying to get it moved on before Tony got us kicked off the air. But yeah, bring up anything.
That last year on their way to the title, at no point did the Raptors face an elimination game. So it'll be a unique spot for this team. They never lost more than 2 in any series last year. For Clippers Nuggets, look, you said that you thought that you could make a case that Denver outplayed the Clips in the last 2 games. I don't think you make a case. They did outplay the Clips in the last 2 games. They outplayed them game 2, pretty much start to finish. Obviously, the first quarter was key, but they were able to sustain enough down the stretch to withstand every run the Clips made. And they did it again for extended stretches of game 3. Unfortunately for Nuggets fans or Moneyline bettors, their end game wasn't quite as good as it was in game number 2, and the Clips were able to make the plays down the stretch. Most notably, the play of the game was Kawhi's one-finger dunk or dunk block, which literally, at that point, the Nuggets would have gone up 1. Instead, the ball goes the other way, and the rest of the game goes the other way towards L.A. But for tonight, we've seen for the first time a legitimate adjustment in the series price. The first 3 games, all line 9, 9.5. Now we're seeing 8s. The markets are giving Denver a little bit more credit than they were. And I think it's warranted that the Nuggets get a little bit more credit than perhaps they were at the beginning of the season, the series. All that said, I worry about Denver's mentality in this game. I really do. The game that you were supposed to win and almost win, and then you don't win, and then you have to come back less than 48 hours later and do it again. It's proven to be problematic here in the postseason. Look no further than the Celtics in Game 4 against Toronto as a recent example of that, where, we just gave it away, and now we're a little bit flat the next time. That worries me for Denver tonight. I'm not in action on this game. Putting my 10-1 and 27-8 runs on the line on the first game tonight. The second game for me is a pass, both side in total.
Yeah, adjusted series price, by the way, Clippers are a 1-17, Nuggets 11-1 now with a 1-2 deficit. Rob, as Teddy said, the Clippers have not outplayed the Nuggets the last two games, and now you have the Nuggets off a loss, getting 8 points. That would be attractive for that reason, but then other way to look at it, though, is I agree with you, Teddy. I was saying the same thing, is that was the game the Nuggets get away. They could have had a 2-1 lead. And the fact they got outscored by 10 points in the fourth quarter and only lost by 6, if there's any momentum carrying into the first half here, Rob, it looks like it'd be on the Clippers' side. What are your thoughts on Game 4 tonight?
Well, I'll just stand up for the Nuggets and their resilience a hair bit. They lose Game 4 to Utah, 129-127, a game that they could have won, and a game that could have thoroughly deflated them because it put them down 3-1 in the series. And they bounced back with a 10-point win against Utah when nobody really was giving them a chance to come back in the series. Now you could say, well, that's the game Gary Harris came back, but Gary Harris wasn't, what we know Gary Harris to be in that game. Is on minutes restriction. Denver has shown some resilience. I think the biggest problem for this team, look no farther than the free throw line, guys. The first game of the series, Denver goes to the line 27 times. The last two games, they go to the line 27 times combined. They get outscored by 12 from the free throw line in that last game. Sure, some of that is late garbage free throws when they're fouling because they're behind. But they haven't shot a ton of free throws in these last two games, and they have to get more aggressive. I think Mike Malone will have them more aggressive, starting with Jamal Murray and that backcourt. Michael Porter showed some aggressiveness last game. I look at this total, and I see 221, what it's bet up to now. Early it was 220. And I just think these two teams, from what I've seen so far, are very capable of going over. But again, I'll hammer a point home that I've made a few times here, that the LA Clippers, when they want to play defense, they play shutdown defense. But I just can't see them, or I haven't seen them show me 48 minutes of that very often. So I might look toward over here. I think Denver's got more than enough scores. I think they get a little more aggressive and go to the free throw line a little bit more here tonight. And to the defense that Mike Malone set up in Game 2 that stopped Kawhi cold, 4 of 17, they found an answer to that. Kawhi came back with 23 points last game. Paul George helped him out quite a bit and said he needs to help him out. So I don't think that defense is going to stop LA from scoring. A team that shot 53% or better in 2 of the 3 games so far.
And Tony, we talked about that amazing overrun that Denver was on. What was it, 13-1 beginning the bubble? We had a couple overtimes, but still I think it was 13-1. Nuggets have now gone under, have not gone over for 4 straight. 3 unders and then a push, really depending on, push, win, loss, whatever on that last game. But we'll say a push in the closing number, 220-ish. But anyway, it's been adjusted. But what jumps out to me, Tony, is that the Clippers, their 2 wins, 57-55% shooting in this series. Their loss in Game 2, 41%. So even though the Nuggets have outplayed in the last 2 games, we have definitely seen Denver has not been able to necessarily shut them down for the overall 3 games as a whole.
Yeah, I will respectfully disagree with you guys. I don't think the Nuggets have outplayed them. I think I wrote about this, and I believe that the Clippers are doing exactly what they want to do. They were methodical. First off, Denver, the main difference, if you watch these two teams, as hard as Denver's playing, the Clippers are fairly casual. In fact, I wrote another post-game article, and I think the Clippers did a very poor job of shot selection. I think they did a very poor job. They chose shots that were going to be contested, and they know they're going to be contested. But in the big picture, this Clippers team on paper is 10 points better than the Nuggets on an average day. And what Denver's been able to do, let's give Malone some credit. But I firmly believe that let's put it this way: if you think that Denver has outplayed the Clippers, then you have to. Then I would think that you would have to say, well, hold it. The Raptors scored 11 points in the first quarter of the last game, and for the most part, that game was even for the rest of the way. It's a little late surge there at the end, when the Raptors basically said, "Yeah, a little late." Well, look at the numbers. Look at this. You look at the totals, the percentages, Teddy. And I'm telling you right now, if you tell me the Clippers have been outplayed by this Denver team that in the last two games, then for the last three quarters, Toronto. You talked about how they got blown out this last game. Then they played even with Boston for the last three quarters and did it with listen. I don't have glasses on. You do. So my business is damn better than yours.
So I don't mean to cut off anyone, but in watching the games, in watching the games, I don't care what the box score says. The box score is going to tell you one story. Watching is going to tell you perhaps the same story and sometimes a different story.
All right.
Watching the games, Denver's been as good or better than LA for the last.
And I will respectfully disagree. The Clippers have done anything they wanted to do. Let me tell you right now, their last 3 minutes of that first half of that last game with the Clippers. If you watched it, did you watch it? And Clippers were down by 10. They look up the clock. There's 3 minutes to go. And Kawhi, you get to see him. He looks over at the rest of the guys, says, okay, look, we need to get this closer. And what happened? 2-point game at halftime.
Yeah, but Tony, I think you guys are actually. I think we're all in agreement. Actually, they can turn it on when
I'm not going to agree with them.
No, but I was just saying, Teddy. I think what Tony is saying, they can turn it on when they want to, and we saw that in the fourth quarter. It doesn't mean that they outplayed them for the whole two games. I agree with Teddy in that respect, but I agree with you also, Tony. I think the Clippers can turn it on when they want to, and we saw that. I mean, what do you think?
But specifically, Tony was saying that the Raptors Celtics game 5 was even after the first quarter, and it wasn't. It was a blowout start to finish. Toronto got their asses kicked. They were never in the game. And whatever the box score tells you is not real.
And my response to that would be, listen, whatever you saw in that Clippers-Denver game, you didn't see what I saw, because I saw a Clippers team that just basically dangled a carrot and said, you guys suck, and we're going to do whatever we want. When the game's over, we're going to be ahead. That's what I saw.
But Tony, my point, and I think Teddy somewhat too, is that they didn't do that the whole game, though. I'm not saying they couldn't have done that the whole game, because they're an 8-point favorite on a
I'm
new.
going to take my ball and I'm going to leave.
Wait for 3 days straight, guys. I mean, Tony, just split it in half, because I'm going to agree with you. LA can do whatever they want offensively against this team. They can shut them down defensively when Kawhi looks at them and says, let's go. And I'm with you. They just don't choose to do it for 48 minutes. The Clippers throughout these playoffs have selected when they're going to play hard on defense.
Without question.
Offensively, they can do whatever they want against Denver, but Denver's able to score against them in bunches because they don't care for a huge portion of the game.
Yeah, I think we're all saying more of the same thing than we realize, because I'm agreeing with that, Tony.
Yeah,
that's kind of what my point was.
That's not good television. Come on, guys.
But Tony and Teddy can never agree. It's in the contract, actually. I read it today. It's in the fine print. It says Teddy and Tony may never agree on more than 5 minutes of any show.
Or Ski, say something. Ski,
that's why we have you here, Ski. But yeah, I mean, I think we're all saying the same thing. The Clippers are the better team, but they haven't always shown it at times. Maybe that's the best way to sum it up in 2 seconds. But Ski, what are your thoughts on this game?
We've talked enough about the side, so let's talk about the total. I think
the politician.
everybody, no matter if you like Denver's not going to stop the Clippers from scoring. If you like the Clippers, we're talking about the Clippers. We don't know how much they're going to bring it. When they have to, they'll bring it and play defense. I mean, they're just casual because they can score on Denver when they want. So I think there's points in this game. I think it gets over.
Yeah, Ski, we're seeing 221 right now. Do you like the 221 for the game, or do you like the first half, which is a lot higher, 114 versus 107 for the second half? Because there again, the odds makers are predicting a Clipper a double-digit win. I mean, they're predicting an 8-point win, but you get my point here. They're saying that the game will be closer in the first half because the total is about 7 points higher than the game total.
Yeah. I would just rock with the full game.
And once again, Denver has allowed the Clippers to shoot 57 and 55% in their two wins. The Clippers shot less than 41%, Teddy, in the one loss in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, the Clips shot 55% from the floor in game 3 and didn't cover. Okay, to me, that's a red flag. They shot 30 of 46 from 2-point range and 20 and 26 from the free throw line.
And didn't cover.
The Nuggets only got 10 free throw attempts for the whole game. So all of those stats says Clips, even when they're hitting shots, even when they're getting to the free throw line, that this point spread may be a little bit higher than it should be.
But so you're saying,
and it has dropped, though, as you said, Tony. As Teddy said, it has dropped, though. 8's now the lowest in the series. Is it enough of a drop, though, Tony? Well, you like the Clippers, I think. I could take.
Well, no, I'm saying I'm not arguing the point. I wasn't really arguing or pushing my opinion on you guys on the point spread. I was pushing the opinion that what Teddy just said is these Clippers have shot 55% and whatever it was, and they've been outplayed. Well, then if that's the case, then Denver should have sure as hell won.
They didn't cover though, and I was on the Clippers.
I know you guys. I know you're referencing the cover.
Yeah, it's the only loss I've had this week, guys, in all sports. So I'm well aware that they didn't cover in that game, Teddy. And Rob, I'll throw it to you. I kind of referenced this earlier with the Raptors. Teddy brings up a point I look at a lot in sports. When a team, you can't do much better than 55, 57%. Obviously, they covered game one easily, but when you shoot 55%, you're 20 for 26 from the free throw line, and you still don't cover. That is a red flag for me, Rob.
It's a red flag, guys, because they don't choose to play defense for 48 minutes. If they did, they would cover these numbers, and you can't guess. It's been a consistent theme throughout the Clipper playoff games so far. Pick and choose. It's almost like they're, using load management to get to the finals. In essence,
they are. I think you're right.
If they want to go out and they want to defend the way they defended in the second half 2 games ago, the way they defended in the fourth quarter, the previous game, then they'll cover the number. But they haven't shown any of us so far that they're willing to do that and exert that type of energy in the beginning, in the middle of a series where they're not tested yet. Only they're up 2-1, so they're not backed into a corner. I just, you can't guess. They could do it. Believe me, they could do it. But I'm not going to guess that they're going to play 48 minutes of defense. I'm going to guess that Denver has more than ample opportunity to score. I'm going to guess that LA, who shot better than 53% twice in this series, is going to do whatever they want on offense, and the game's going to get up and over the total. That's just the way I see the Clippers right now.
Well, how close were the Clippers, you guys? How close were they to covering that last game? What did they have to do? And there was one play with less than 30 seconds. They needed less than 30 seconds to go. They either cover or they don't cover.
I wanted the overtime or a fifth quarter to get my cover. I'll answer that.
No, I mean there's a 3-point shot that gets made. I'm telling you that the last 30 seconds, there's one play where they either cover the 8.5 or they don't. And that's how.
You're right.
If we're gonna talk about covers, and we got to give the odds makers their due, and that is when we're talking about covers, our margin. We can't be sitting here saying, "Well, these somebody didn't cover by 20," and I said they would. That kind of thing.
But once again, I think Teddy and my point on that was that they slept walk for 3 quarters, basically.
No doubt.
And they outscore them by 10, win by 6. So, like you said, another 2 minutes in the fourth quarter, they win by 14 in that quarter. So
yeah.
I think we're all kind of saying more of the same thing,
right?
I don't like to be on the same page.
I know you can't agree with Teddy at all.
Yeah, but what play were you talking about down the stretch?
Do I have to go? I'll look it up.
Either that or no play down the stretch. It was like a 4-point game, and then Kawhi got fouled, and it was a 6-point game.
There was one play
where the Clips about to cover
the Clippers.
There was one play because I had the Clippers too.
Absolutely,
they missed a bucket.
That's right.
That was the difference between the cover.
That was the difference. It was a difference in the cover. One play.
Ski, let me stay with you, Ski. We only got a couple minutes left, guys. But Ski, you've been doing well with the props. If you guys have nothing, it's fine. But any play against guys as we go around the horn one final time here.
Props. Clippers game. Okay, I'll look at. If you like Denver at all. The only way they're going to have success if Jokic has success, and he's been pretty good on the boards. Over 10.5 rebounds should be a pretty good look. I would also probably fade Jamal Murray. I don't think he has that much success. Like I said, if you like the Nuggets, I think it has to be mostly Jokic. So I would look under for Murray, 23.5. And if I have to look at the Clippers, I'll probably look at Morris one more time. But just his 3-pointers. His points is a little bit higher than I would want. I look at him to hit 2 3-pointers, so over 1.5 3-pointers for Morris.
And Rob Murray's kind of become a public guy. We had him under 24.5, I believe. Was that game one, guys? It was a couple games ago. Now it's 23.5 minus money to the under. So, and he's coming off, a less of a performance recently. Rob, any thoughts on any of those or any other guys?
Listen, I'm the guy who sat here and popped off that playing Lou Williams over the point total was legalized stealing the other day, and it didn't get there. So I got drained on that one. But I'll come right back. I don't know if it's insanity, Tone. I don't know if I'm asking the same thing again. I'm going to, get my pocket picked one more time. But if Lou Williams total is what it was the other night, 13.5 or whatever it was, the guy got 10 points the other night, shooting lousy, not putting up his normal number of attempts. Give me Lou Williams over with 100 exclamation points after it. I'll take it again.
Yeah, it's not at DraftKings. It's not at one of the big offshores. But remember, the studio told us it was at FanDuel like 14.5, I think. So we'll say 14. We'll cut it in the middle. Say 14. But that's not readily available. So luckily, Rob, not everybody.
Tony, give me 9.5.
There we go. Make your own line.
Okay, I'll give you 9.5. I'll give you 9. I'll give you a clip. I'll give you 9.5 on the side. No, not on Sweet Lou. But,
so luckily, Rob, a lot of people maybe weren't stolen blind with the Lou Williams props. Since it wasn't.
It'll be out there somewhere for people watching Lou Williams over.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Well, it wasn't FanDuel, which is a big, obviously, legal book in the U.S. now. So do check FanDuel. I don't have that one in front of me. DraftKings does not have it, but he was around 14.5, I think. Teddy, any agreement, disagreement with any of those names?
Okay. Sorry, I was reading the chat.
I know. Didn't I say
attention? I'm so sorry.
No, you're not the big prop guy. That's why I don't have anything. And you're actually doing me a favor by monitoring the chat there, because as you know, I mess with these banners. And I won't put the happy birthday Teddy up, even though I still have it saved here. I told him I wouldn't do it.
James Lee says we have every pick wrong. You guys have got every pick wrong.
I think we've given out both sides on some games, so I guess are we going to have another shutdown? Can I cash on my 100-1 draw bet, my three-way line?
He also says in-game wager on Clippers when they're down will get you a great number. I have no argument with that.
I'm out.
There was a question about how you can get involved with any of our service plays. It's real simple. Just go to the website, SportsMemo or WagerTalk.com. You can get anybody's package right now. There it is. Best bets available right now.
Teddy's the chat guy. I'm the banner guy. We've got good teamwork. We're the dynamic duo here. While you guys are arguing amongst yourself, Teddy and I are multitasking and arguing back at the same time.
Hey, I got smoked yesterday. I need
Tony, close us out here. I was going to say, close us out with your final thoughts and any in-show wagers you want to get from these guys with some thoughts.
Kuzma had 14 points yesterday, and he's. But look, we didn't talk about that, did we? Really? Westbrook had 30, and
Russ
30, and did you ever feel like? Well, I shouldn't say it. I mean, there was a game until the fourth, and LA kind of did what the Clippers did too, and they won and covered. They won and covered though, and did it right out of the gate in the fourth quarter. Good teams start periods well, end periods well, guys. That's what good teams do. Okay, I'll take Sweet Lou over the 14.5, and I like the. Anybody like the under in this game? Do you like the under in this game? Do you like the over?
Anybody want the total? Anybody want the over?
I like the over.
I knew Steve liked the over. I'll take
Rob's got the over 221. Tony's got the under for an in-show wager. Rob's got Sweet Lou over.
Tony's giving me 212. Got the numbers wrong. Dyslexic. 212.
I will. 212. Yeah.
He even got the 222 Laker total backwards yesterday, and I'll leave it at that. So guys, we're gonna have a lot of time to talk about the Lakers Rockets. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. It's the only show in town. It's the only game in town tomorrow. So we're gonna have some real in-depth analysis on Ski's LA Lakers. Once again, we're all at WagerTalk.com. Teddy's also at SportsMemo.com. So once again, best bets and free plays as well at SportsMemo.com and WagerTalk.com. Hey, we're back as we are every Monday through Friday, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific, live right here on Wager Talk TV. Teddy covers, Rob Bino, Tony Finn, Ski Prophet. I'm your host, Steve Merrill. We'll be back tomorrow on Thursday. Good luck tonight, guys.